Yeah. Oh, you got word from Pops. What was that word?
Anybody that's not participating in his fight for freedom, he don't want to see him.
Mm-hmm.
Period. If you ain't part of his freedom fight, don't come talk about I've been there since the beginning. BS.
Yeah.
You know, I actually got it posted on one of my pages to make sure people see it. The master teacher then spoke. So now all of the ones that rather go with the dirty government narrative and disregard how they fabricated evidence and misled the public into thinking this man was something he not. He don't want to talk.
Right.
But I told him it was gonna happen. I told him, I said, Malachi not coming back to them Zinjis. He not going back over there. They don't mean him no good. And their actions speak louder than anything they say out their mouth. Which is also part of the Smithsonian cover-up. Mm-hmm. Because everything that he was exhuming in the United Nuwabian sacred record, in the holy tablets, in the sacred record of Tahuti, the sacred record of Atum Ray, the proper translation of the Torah, the Injil, the Al-Zabur, the Psalms, all of that. He did it all with the ink pen in his hand and the brain in his head. Mm-hmm. Right? So here he is, we face to face with the beast, and we rooting for him to come home, and you still got people in our community that rather believe the government narrative created by some traitors than to go with the facts. They don't want to hear the facts. They rather hear the gossip. And he ain't messing with them. That's for the record.
Hey, I'm glad.
Remember, anything we put out is public notice. Notice the agent is notice the principal. They all been notified.
Yeah, the cookie is crumbling. Like we knocking them down. We nailing them every time we nail right, hit right on the nail every time we have.
He literally said he'd be home soon.
Yeah, it's kind of happen now.
Yeah, so we know he don't just be barking. He ain't telling us that in 2005.
This is the time.
You know what I mean? He ain't telling. He didn't say he'd be home soon until like last year sometime.
You know what I think is gonna happen. I think since Larry we got Larry got working this way, Doc, then they're gonna be Jeff. Jeff gonna get out right after that because this is a military operation against us since the beginning. Even Smithsonian Institute is a military operation. Why the government signing a law into about a museum? Why you got to have a law? And then you got stuff where you can't even go and see. And then they got most of they showing you the first women and man, like the oldest woman and man, like even at Homo already, they showing you that they was over here. In the Smithsonian Institute, they show you that they was over here, and they show you that part that they were black people, dark skinned people that was over in America. They got the actual statues of them in the Smithsonian Institute. So it's like some of the stuff. If you know what you know, it's like if you walk up in that raw and you start looking at stuff how it's placed, you'll say, okay, I know that I see what they telling me. But for the average person that walk in there, they looking at slavery, they looking at this and that. It's like a different eye. So could you go in on that a little bit, like having that eye to be able to code read how because they alchemists and they got to display their alchemy in order for everybody to see. If you go alchemist, your alchemist got to be displayed. So when you go up in there and see how they got it displayed, what gives you the advantage being able to read how they got that display lined up?
Well, the first thing you got to understand is all warfare is based on deception.
Yeah.
All right. So in order to hold the narrative of deception that we from somewhere other than home,
yeah,
right, then they have to tell their version of the story, but they also got to suppress anything that will go against their version.
Right.
The eye to see, that's something you develop over time. When you see them doing the same thing over and over. See, we only talk about the Smithsonian over here.
Right.
We ain't talking about the artifacts in France. We ain't talking about the artifacts in England. We ain't talking about the artifacts in Italy, Portugal, Spain, and all of the rest of the countries of Europe that conceal artifacts under the pretense of curators of museum artifacts.
Right.
They got to control the narrative. Even them controlling the narrative, our ancestors left what we call markers.
Mm-hmm.
So when they try to conceal something, but it got a marker with it, it got a certain glyph on it.
Mm-hmm.
They know what a lot of the glyphs mean, but some of the glyphs they can't figure out what they mean.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like some of when you read hieroglyphics, you get to parts where they don't know the actual literal translation of what that symbol is. So they give you what the closest thing they can explain that they can understand that it means.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The eye is part of your awakening process. Mm-hmm. Right? If your right brain not activated, you can miss out. Mm-hmm. That's your mother brain. Mm-hmm. Left brain is your father brain. Mm-hmm. Mother brain control your left side. Father brain control your right side. So even though the mother brain is on the right side, the father brain controlling your right hand. So I'm gonna be my mama's boy, but I'm definitely my daddy's son because I'm gonna use his right hand to slap you straight. I mean, so they have to try to conceal it, but our recognition of who we are, that's part of your genetic memory. I've been talking about genetic memory since 98. When I was locked up, guys used to tell me, ain't no such thing as genetic memory. I said, yeah, it is. Yeah. Animals even got it, and in animals they call it instinct.
Yeah.
Right? But genetic memory is everything that's on your DNA. You go back 16 grandparents, you got like a couple thousand.
Right.
At least 1,000 and some change.
Right.
18 generations back. So you looking at you drawing all of that information from historical DNA coding from people experiencing events. You can tap into that through meditation and mind focus.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, so
over there now. All right. Hey, Rod. Now this first clip I'm gonna play, it kind of stimulates the next question, and I kind of figured out the connection with these guys, and then you could go in on there. I'm gonna ask the question based off of this first video.
Well,
all right, Rod. It's a two-part to that question. 2 parts. The first part is why would the church be involved? I got my ideas, but I just want you to break down it. Why would the church be interested in helping the Smithsonian Institute to cover up stuff in America? Because being the Christianity and all that. Go ahead.
Dude, the first thing about the church is the Roman Empire didn't fall when they told us it did. It just reduced its operations to the clergy and concentrated its power in the Pope of the Vatican. So this was who we've been fighting. We've been fighting the Pope and his Jesuits, right? But the Jesuits is not what people think they are, which is a lot of internal fighting was going on in the Vatican. The Vatican catacombs got all of the most valuable texts from the Alexandria Library so that information is not leaked to the public. They keep it in the catacombs. They also had an underground prison where they kept the lizard bitch at, right? And she was freaking tall as mud. She's about 7-8 feet tall, and she had wings, but she couldn't come up above ground because she can't be the supplanter on the walking the earth. So she was the one under the Vatican that the Pope was taking orders on. She got executed in 2018, right? But that's when they breached the Vatican and seized all of the gold and other stuff too. They was concealing from the beginning, from the onset of the church. When Constantine decided to activate the Nicene Council and initiate the church. That was what they call a long game plan. We don't have an understanding of protracted struggle because we think our struggle only go back to 2 weeks ago. So when you're talking about the 6,000-year reign of the devil, the continuation of the Babylonian Empire, that's what they tell us in their book of Daniel. The Vatican, Rome is a continuation of Babylon, right? And then it's not going to stand once the feet of iron and clay is struck with the stone, a single stone hewn without the hands of a man. What kind of smith is that? Because the only way you can make a man, make one out of stone, which is a Masonic reference of the black stone being a stone that the builders rejected. The builders represent the masculine line, as in building with the tools of the workmen. But what about the one that was created without the hands of the workmen? He's created and molded by the hands of the women, right? But he's still a man. He didn't compromise his manhood as one of the ones who was raised by the women and took on the feminine traits, right? And became interested in men in the wrong way. He still grew up to be a solid man. So they not looking at none of that. And most of us, we ain't mapping the struggle for 6,000 years. We only going back, most of the time, the furthest we go back is 1492. So I always ask people in 1492 when Columbus came, what was we doing in 1491? And that stumped so many people. Because when they asked them what was we doing in 1491, where the records at? Where's the artifacts? And we ain't new over here. Right. The artifacts is all over the lands. You can't mistake these mounds. Well, you can mistake them for hills and mountains if you want to, but we still got ancestors buried in most of these places.
Right.
That's what makes this holy ground everywhere we go. Because the ancestral burial ground is the proof of our origin over here.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So the Roman interests is a war-related interest in global conquest and the miseducation of the Negroes.
Mm-hmm. You know what I think, Rod? I think that as far as the Western Hemisphere go, Christianity is only really aimed at the people who they reclassify as blacks, Negroes, or colors. Like they don't really care about nobody else, long as they want that particular people, because it's part of the traumatized, or what's the mind control, or what, I don't know what it is. It's different names you could call it, but it's part of the keep the game going. It's an indoctrination to keep the game going. As far as because if the church, this is my next part to my question. Do you think that Smithsonian Institute might have artifacts that might disprove some of the church's view on things as far as the Bible and everything?
Not only the Smithsonian, they got museums all over the world that blow that BS out the water.
Go ahead.
You know, then that's the whole thing about controlling the narrative. If you want to conquer people, you can't let them know who they are. Right. As soon as they know that they come from a bunch of soldiers and that somebody got to be a strategist, everybody can't be a frontline soldier. Somebody got to be in the war room formulating the plan and looking through the mist of the BS. Right? So we all, people like me and you, we want to get out there and we want to find where he at. Show him to me. Let me get rid of him.
Yeah, because we try.
But when you're dealing with this vast of a reach, we can't go head to head with them like that because they got the military advantage. They got the strategical advantage. They got the logical advantage. So we already the underdog coming into this. Speed of lightning, bolt of thunder. Underdog. So as long as we the underdog, we have to use guerrilla strategy and guerrilla tactics. And that's one of my specialties. That's why I'm here telling people all of the stuff that I'm saying, because it's part of the guerrilla strategy. It's
Right.
part of using guerrilla warfare of a smaller, less equipped military force to conquer a diabolical, expansive, much larger and well-armed force. So you got to use guerrilla tactics. You can't come in there and think that you're going to fight them face-to-face, man-to-man. They got more troops than you do.
Yeah, more money.
They troops is better trained than your troops. They troops, and half of them have been to war, and the other half of them know how to strategize war. By the time they get to be a sergeant in the army for about 3-4 years of that, they know how to run the troops. All they got to do now is expand their information base, and then that's going to automatically increase their value to the structure. You know, so they have to do this stuff. It's just the whole church narrative, right? You got to remember, the church is the ones who commissioned the Huguenots from France and the conquistadors from Spain and the gentry from England to settle over here. They was never supposed to come over here. We had nothing to do with what they had going on over there until they sent their minions over here to drag us into their conflict. So our remedy is, okay, when we get done taking care of y'all, we're going to have it all because you shouldn't have never came over here in the first place. Bothering some peaceful people that was minding their business. We didn't have no criminal activity. Right? But they don't want to talk about that. They don't want to talk about the first prison was built in Pennsylvania after colonization. They don't want to talk about that. We didn't need prisons. We knew how to deal with each other because we know our nature. They can't control our nature because they not us. So what do? Suppress, subjugate, subdue. Right? Anytime one of us rise up, chopping down. Right? What Marty say? Shell Giant Brown, every time I try to plant a seed, he say, kill it before it grow. Right? So they don't want us to become fully aware of all of the dirt that it's doing. But sooner or later, they can run on for a long time, but sooner or later, Rod gonna cut them down. Believe that.
Hey. All right, so this next one is a 2-part clip. It's a 5 clip, so it's gonna be over on that.
But we seen that with last episode.
Yeah, last episode. That's why I ain't gotta go over it. But from the first video, he talks about them having they over trumped the law. They trumped the law because, like, you know how it's even galactical law that spiritual items and spiritual sites can't be bothered. That's against galactical law. It's even international law that backs that up, right? But these guys can break. Smithsonian Institute can break laws as specifically with Native American artifacts. Now, why would they? Now, this is my question, right? If the Native Americans, they telling us that's in Oklahoma and all these other Native Americans, if they show us on TV, if they the real people, what would be the hide? What would be the high? It would show, hey, these are the guys you telling the whole world, the original people, which the half of the world know they full of crap. But the guys they telling the original people wouldn't those artifacts line up with them? Why would they pass a law saying you got to turn this in? If it's in Native American stuff, you got to turn it in the Smithsonian Institute or else. No.
Well, it's not only turn it into the institute. What the guy was talking about when he said he don't trust the Smithsonian is the fact that when all of the museums was ordered to return artifacts that didn't apply to the Smithsonian. But it do if it's a government agency, it falls under the Chevron deference. Right? But it needs presidential oversight until the government switch over. Yeah, and I think a lot of those artifacts from the Smithsonian is going to be at the World Fair. I think it's going to be next year. It's supposed to be this year. But the celebration was moved to next year, too. The 250-year celebration was supposed to be this year, but they moved it to next year. So they didn't have enough time to clean all this BS up.
That's
They
why
gonna,
Trump. Go ahead.
yeah, they gonna get it cleaned up.
Yeah, I got a couple of videos that bag what you saying. What Trump is now getting a audit of the whole museum.
Yeah.
And the military is doing an audit of the museum now. Do you think that Trump is going to come out because he's still going on? It seems like he's still with the African American black slave narrative as well.
Trump?
I think Trump is a secret white supremacist to me, man. With Ashtar Command.
Whatever he is, he doing what we need him to do.
Yeah, he doing something.
He doing what we need him to do, whether we like him or don't like him. I don't give two shits about him one way or the other.
Go ahead.
But he doing what we need done. That's obvious, right? So. Because you seeing the systematic shutdown of the entire government.
That's right.
And so they just called all of those generals, all of the top brass in the military to an emergency meeting. Trump also announced that there was what they call hostile cities, vulnerable cities, what he called them. It's a series of vulnerable cities that they gotta secure. That's why I keep telling everybody the National Guard coming out, but it ain't got nothing to do with us. It got nothing to do with it. It got everything to do with all them people sitting in the boardrooms making decisions that ruin our lives. That's who they coming to get. Judges, lawyers, politicians, aldermen, senators, all of them. Ain't none of them, especially the ones that's members of the Bar Association. Because they believe that the Bar Association is untouchable because it was chartered out of England. They don't even know that the American military took over Buckingham Palace.
Right.
Donald Trump released a statement the other day about the King of England, and they wanted him to bow. He's like, I don't bow. I ain't your subject. You got me twisted. Right? But he mentioned it because people needed to know that, first of all, if you see King Charlie, it ain't him. It's central casting. He been fried. He got fried when his mama got fried. And both of them still supposed to been here according to their adrenochrome usage. They were still supposed to be in good health, but they was Gitmo. One of them pale-faced trooper channels, right, showed the death certificate for the Elizabeth, Queen Elizabeth, and it said on there, executed. And then the location, it say Gitmo on her death certificate. I'm like, come on, man, y'all gonna keep falling for this stuff? And they keep falling for the same banana in the tailpipe, but all of us ain't falling for it. The size, enough of us is to slow the process. Right? But the process is the process, and we gonna make progress, even if we gotta drag some of us along with us.
Hey, Rob, I've been noticing a lot of the celebrities that was supposed to be on these adrenaline chrome. If you look at them nowadays, they look like they went from looking like a young 20, 30, like if they was 60, they looked at 30 something, young 25. But now, since they ain't got that adrenaline chrome, man, they look like skeletons. They look like, man, like that dude George, that Mexican dude. They said he was on it, and now he looked like, man, he looked like a man, like he almost in the grave. Without that adrenaline chrome, boy, they started to look real bad.
Fast. But that's part of a ritualistic occupation of spot. You talking about George Lopez?
Yeah, George Lopez. He looked bad, man, since he ain't got that adrenaline chrome.
I don't know if he was on the net, but I tell you this: if he was, his days won't be long because everybody that was in on it, man. I made a post yesterday. I don't know if you've seen it on Instagram, but it's on my Facebook too. About they got a blood drop right across from the Hollywood sign, right? And that's that's a message. That single giant blood drop is from DC to LA.
Right.
right? It's a political satire meets theatrical performance.
Mm-hmm.
And the one drop doctrine is what's supposed to tie all of the earthborn together. The ones who denied rights of ascension from people playing God, making people in laboratories, that's what's the problem.
Yeah.
That's the great debauchery that got us set back and gave the devil 6,000 years to rule, because they had to figure out, now how the hell are we going to clean this genetic spill up? There's so many of them. How did y'all let it get this bad? You was never supposed to let it get this bad. And they let it get bad where it was probably close to 1 million of them. And now, you know what I'm saying? Hey, it is what it is. Everybody ain't going to make it. But everybody that make it supposed to be here.
That happened 3 times, bro. They did this 3. They did that genetical spill 3 times with Adolf Hitler. He started it, and then you go back to Yaku. You know what I'm saying? Based on Yaku.
Yeah, the Yaku story was the first.
Yeah.
The use of the genetic engineering to create a slave race.
Yeah.
Right, and the remedy is in the story where he said that he would make these people genetically inferior to rule over superior. But the part we always miss is that he left some melanated people in charge, some dark melanated people in charge. His loyalists is what they was calling them.
That's right.
Okay, so now we got this going on. We know that before 8,400 years ago, it wasn't even an albino on the planet. Mm-hmm. It wasn't in the genome. The lightest you could get is what we call yellow or red bone, right? But the genetic manipulation continued until they came up with what they came up with. And they also inserted animal DNA and chemicals to offset the carbon, like sulfur. Mm-hmm. So now you can tell they don't look the same, they don't talk the same, they don't dance the same, they don't sing the same. They couldn't sing, they couldn't dance.
That's why they don't got no rhythm, because they don't got no soul.
But when you see them now, you seeing the ones with that drop of blood. Where they get that booty from? Mm-hmm. That ain't no Caucasian trait. You know, a pale face trait. Where they get it from? Yeah. But we don't want to talk about that because we want to dismiss all of them as being the ones against us, when all of them was never always against us. It was more people that looked like us against us than it was pale faces. And most of the slave narratives, it was somebody that looked like us that ran the sweetheart swindle on Big Mama. But you can't tell Big Mama nothing because Big Mama gonna do what she gonna do.
Right, that's right.
And then they gonna drive a wedge between Big Mama and her security nets. So now can't nobody protect her. She on her own. Right? It ain't nothing nobody could do with Big Mama. If Big Mama want to entertain the charlatans, then that's up to her. You can't tell her nothing. All you can do is tell her what the situation is, what they doing, and then she got to make her own mind up. Right? But some of them is good at seducing women, even Big Mama. But if Big Mama don't see what's in front of her and who they cutting her off from, then she the one that's choosing to go into that repeat cycle, because it's another cycle that's being repeated that you're not breaking. Right? So when they came with the sweetheart swindle, what do sweetheart swindlers do? They come in, they woo you with gifts and pleasantries, right? And then they turn around, isolate you from your security, from the ones who can see through their bullshit. They isolate you from them. They tell you that they got out to get you. They not out to get you, Big Mama, but she don't always see it because she's in the moment. When you in the moment, you can't see 2 weeks from now. That's why everybody always tell you to live in the now. Just because you living in the now don't mean you can't anticipate based on events what's about to take place. That's called extrapolation of events. It's part of the natural nature of the human to say, okay, last time I went down that street, it was a hole down there. I got two options. I can go see if the hole's still there. That'll be inconvenient. Or I can go this other way where I know it ain't no holes and I'm going to get to my destination. But when the money come, snakes come out. Right? When the bank get unlocked, the serpents rear their head because they smell the money. And Big Mama sometimes act like a little girl because she still got an inner child. And that inner child is who the seducer is trying to woo. So the seducer seduced the inner child, which is her innocence, and use it to leverage against her, to subjugate her. And this is where this plantation narrative come from. So now that we got all of the security away from them, now we got to put what we call a decoy in its place. So they go out and they hire these pale-faced plantation managers, and then they give them fornication rights because King George said it, or King James said it was cool. If any way you need to spread that drop, get that drop of blood, you get it. Right? So when they do this, we don't realize that Django was the Cherokee in the house, and Samuel L. Jackson was the Huguenot, or the gentry, or conquistador. He was one of them. Coming with his flashy suits when he first came, he was dressed like Django. But once he got rid of Big Mama, she ain't nowhere around. Where she at? Right? And now he got to try to, who that nigga on that man? That ain't no regular, who that nigga on that man? Right? So we sitting here watching the reenactments through Hollywood. They telling us what's going on without telling us what's going on. If we know history enough, we can see the story play out in theatrical portrayals in Hollywood, in political satire in DC. They all telling the story. DC just responsible for writing it down, and Hollywood is responsible for putting it on the big screen. Right? So it's in all their literature. They wrote about the conquest of the Americas. They didn't come over here friendly. These people don't belong here. Your judges, your lawyers, your prosecutors, your police, all of those are agents of the Crown of England. And their days is a number.
Hey, Rod. Now this next one, gonna be getting at. Gonna be my question about how they played the TP. He got a good question there. Now he pointed out that this foreign government, collected back to Britain, is in control of keeping whatever's under the Smithsonian Institute secret. Why would that be? And why would the government be helping some foreign entity out when they supposed to be against in the Constitution against foreign government?
To us, the United States is foreign, operating on our land. But to the colonizer that came, and later the immigrants that followed, the United States is supposed to be the United States. Right. It's Turtle Island. Right? Now, when you realize that they foreign, when you talk about British banknotes, right? You're talking about the Crown of England.
Right.
We're talking the mortuary. It's a place you store dead people. Right? And this is where you get your mortgages from. Your mortgages are issued out of the mortuary, which is the crown of the one who performs autopsies. Right? Shout out to Gaddy Boy for dropping that. He was on point with that one. And I was like, whoa. But anyway, the civilly mortis status is the general status of anybody that comes into the war zone. You automatically declare dead in the war zone because you might not make it out. We lost a lot of good soldiers, right? But so we lost so many good soldiers, we kept raising soldiers and wasn't raising no generals, no lieutenants, no captains, no admirals. We wasn't raising none of that, none but just straight raw soldiers. And Elijah told us, force and power without direction is total destruction. Mm-hmm. And you see it in our community because all our communities look like Warsaw after World War II, the ghetto. Right? So all of this foreign interest, because the war had to be contained. Only reason they concerned about foreign interest is because if these natives don't know they not Moors, dirty Moors, I have to correct that. Yeah, if these natives don't know they not the dirty Moors, then they gonna be the ones lose out.
Yeah, our state go back to us.
If you listen to Hakeem Bey, he's telling you his organic original status and his birthright as a chief on the land in his lectures. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then he talk about the rituals he used to do up in Central Park that caused the catalyst of something to happen to him that woke him up to the fact that he was from over here. No, but Ali don't say he came over here from Spain or Portugal. He said he was born in one of the Carolinas.
Yeah, North Carolina.
Right? And then he got going a step further. He was a certified Cherokee chief that was recognized under the Cherokee Confederacy.
Right.
And he had a right to execute the Cherokee Constitution over the U.S. Constitution. Just like when it's a rightful Gullah Geechee, they got a right to assert the Commonwealth Constitution, which we call Articles of Confederation, that was the Confederation of I'm getting brain locked. Iroquois Confederacy.
Yeah. I was about to say it.
It was the Iroquois Confederacy in the rebel flag. It wasn't called the rebel flag. Right? And the Old Glory wasn't even created yet. Right? Old Glory is the war flag. Old Glory is not the peace flag. The stripes go up and down on the peace flag, horizontal. They go vertical on the war flag. Right? So then you have the Admiralty flag, which carries the tribunals of the law of the seas. And this is what they enforcing in the war zone. Right? But we sank their battleship when they was trying to sink ours.
All right, I'm gonna roll this next one. But then he was saying this. I got a couple questions off of that part. Now my first part is, before 1492, several groups, we had contact with several groups that we know of, and it might have been more, but we know that Ho Shin came over about around the 300s on the West Coast, and we know that Mansa Musa, which they don't teach us in school about Mansa Musa, who sailed over in 1310s, him and Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr came first, and then Abu Bakr actually stayed over here, from what Doc said in the Let's Set the Record Straight book. And then Mansa Musa came over here looking for him, and he actually mixed in with some people over here. But they cut it off. So he's saying that the Smithsonian Institute wanted to cut this off, cut that information that predates any contact with foreign people or any Africans or anybody else. They wanted to start it from 1492, and it goes wrong with the church, the doctrine of discovery in the church. it pretty much ties into the doctrine of discovery and what he just said about it's connected back to the church. So my question to you is, why would they want us not to know about these prior encounters with foreign other people in America before them, before Christopher Columbus? Yeah.
Okay, the first thing is we got to pay attention to a particular word. The word was homogeneous.
Okay.
Which means that they just naturally developed somewhere.
Yeah.
Right? Now, the general that they put over the Smithsonian's complaint is that they are trying to make it seem different than what it was. Remember I told you that there was the archaeological studies over here and are less than 200 years old.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Now, in the video you just played, he gave you a 100-year stretch from 1790 something to 1890 something before they even started doing any archaeological and anthropological research over here.
Right.
At that time, they already had the out of Africa theory.
Yeah.
Now, when they take away anything before 1492, that erases all of the stuff they keep finding.
Right.
They can't incorporate that into the literature and the doctrines because the Adam and Eve story, the Popol Vuh, is older than the Adam and Eve story.
Yeah.
It was word for word passed down until some Catholic priest told the Mayan priest that he had to put it in writing because we're going to kill your ass. And ain't going to be nobody else to pass it down. So they wrote it down, and then it wasn't originally available to the general public. It was kept in the church archives. The church released it, I think, in sometime in the 1900s. Right? But they had it recorded for almost 100 years. Right? So when they take away the fact that, like I've been saying the whole time, we've been marrying Africans on the Eastern Shoreboard for thousands of years. The royal families from over there would marry in the royal families from over here. That's why we didn't have the same effect that the European royals had when they was doing incest.
Right.
Because we was incorporating each other's outside blood all the time. Recycling the diversity in the genome. This is why you got everybody's genome over here. It ain't just because of the colonization migrations. This has been going on a long time. Only people that used to come here didn't come hostile until Columbus came.
Right.
And so they cutting off everything before the hostilities begun to tell us that's the history.
Yeah.
So it takes us back to what was we doing in 1491 then.
Right. Same thing.
Right. I'm gonna tell you what we was doing. We was juking, we was crip walking, we was bee walking, we was hoover stomping. That's what we was doing. We was rain dancing, controlling the weather.
Right.
We was farming the land. We was talking to the animals. We was talking to the birds. We would send the birds to deliver the messages to the people on the other side of the land. And we didn't have to even do nothing but whisper in the bird ear. And when the bird get there, the message is going to come out to the other shaman.
That's right.
The bird's electromagnetic sensor, based on the message you gave him, tell him where he need to deliver the message. You don't know where he going. You don't have to. We was doing that before 1492. In 1491, even after 1492, we was still doing it.
Yeah.
Right? We was living as one with the buffalo. This is where you get your term buffalo soldier from. We was living as one. When we went through and called the herd, that's what they call it in English, calling the herd. The herd is getting too bad, consuming too many resources, and we need meat to eat anyway. So we would put on the pelts of the buffalo, the bison, and with our nappy hair, we walk right through them.
Right.
And the ones that we knew needed to be harvest it, we either harvest them on the spot or we would mark them with some kind of marking for harvesting later.
Yeah, I see that.
And so now they give us all of their history and they ignore what we was doing.
Yep. Everything y'all was in teepees, y'all was savages running around in dogs and diapers when we got over here. Even though you read the Christopher Columbus diaries, he tell you what this guy just said. It was big, huge cities, all this, right? So he's saying that what is worth the state fairs or these huge fairs like in Chicago and like in Staten Island, the one up in New York, wherever. All these fairs were where our center points, power points of our cities were, and that they tore them down, and that they tell us we live in. They came over here, we was in teepees. Could you go in on that, Rod?
So first of all, they didn't even see a teepee until they got to the Great Plains. The cities is the same cities that we've been occupying from the beginning. They just changed the names. And sometimes they change them to biblical names to suit the narrative they was pushing. If they can convince us that it wasn't nothing over here but some Mongolian savages that they brought over here, we won't know what happened. We got to look at the migrations. The big migration that happened between 1492 and